he basically made the whole peace deal that turned Afghanistan over to the Taliban.
This is the co-founder of the Taliban.
Yeah, he was number 2 at the time of the Taliban. Yeah, but he is one of the founders. Yeah. Maya, of all people, from the Bin Laden raid, stepped in and was like, you need to collect. I don't give a damn what you think. We're the CIA. She was really funny, and she defended me. He was the lead operational commander of the Taliban. So in my head, he's the lead ops guy. So every U.S. soldier dying in Afghanistan, it's on his shoulders, right? That's the way I viewed him as a target.
Led the capture of Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. Did I say that correct?
Yes. So, again, if you've seen my book, this is known. Mullah Baradar, as everyone now knows, he basically made the whole peace deal that turned Afghanistan over to the Taliban. So back in 2009, I started targeting him, and we captured him in 2018. The really interesting part is he had really good OPSEC. To where, I wanted to capture him, but I was I don't think, even if he got on a phone, he was on it a minute, And I even had a senior boss of the deputy chief of station one time, stop me in one of our big meetings that we had weekly, and he said, Sarah, why are you still briefing this? You're never going to get Mullah Baradar on a phone. He said that in front of the whole station, right? And it's I knew I probably wouldn't. And as you know how life is, so it's funny, the people who collect signals intelligence, even the guy that was supposed to do it for us did not believe my phones were Baradars. And he actually was refusing to collect on them. And then Maya, of all people, from the Bin Laden raid, stepped in and was like, you need to collect. I don't give a damn what you think. We're the CIA. She was really funny, and she defended me. But I don't think he actually collected it. So how it works in the CIA is you always do side things. So I had someone in another location collecting the phones for me. So I was in another city in Pakistan and coming back to Islamabad, and that person calls me. And she said, you won't believe it. Baradar's phone is up, but it's been up your whole flight. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. She's like, yeah, it hasn't turned off. And I said, how weird. And I said, keep me in the loop. I'm going to see if we can get a capture going. And so I went to the leaders in Islamabad. And the crazy part is, did you ever hear about the COS conference?
I didn't.
Okay, there's this time of the year, hopefully the time changes every year, that they all get together and have a big meeting. So we had no leaders. Our top 3 were gone. And then the leader, the chief of base from where he was located was gone. So the only boss there was our chief of liaison at the time, And so I went and said, hey, I need to get a team to go capture Baradar. He's like, let me think about it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I didn't even go back and ask him. So I went down to where the team sit, and I said, hey, I need 2 guys to go to Karachi. And they said, yeah, we got 2 in Lahore. We'll move them from that. And then I booked a flight, and I went straight down there. And then, so I'm traveling, right? And I'm checking in with this girl, and she's like, the phone is still on. And I was like, no way. Well, at first, we assumed he lived in Karachi, which he ended up doing, and that's where our capture was, but the phone's in Quetta. So I said, okay, let's just capture him in Quetta. If the phone's up in Quetta, why would we wait till he comes to Karachi? So I called the boss in Quetta, and did you ever see Gone in 60 Seconds? And he had Eleanor.
Uh-huh.
So it was the car he never could get, and something always went wrong with it. So our boss in Quetta had a terrorist like that. He was like a deputy shadow governor for Helmand. He was the shadow governor for a really famous Taliban commander named Mullah Naeem Barich. I think his name was Tahir Shah. And he was in town that day. And this guy tried to get Tahir Shah every time he was in town. We probably should do see how much money we've wasted on capturing this guy, because we failed every time. So of course I call him. He's like, Tahir Shah's in town. And I said, dude, I'm saying Baradar. And he's like, I don't think it's really Baradar. He's like, I'm going to go for Tahir Shah, and then I'll go for Baradar if we don't get Shah. So they spent the first half of the day going for the guy he's never been able to get, and they didn't get him, and then Baradar moves. So then, my friend's like, he's driving, he's going home to Karachi, and I'm like, yes. So at this time, I've already decided. I said, this is his kid. There's no way Baradar rode to another city with his phone and rode back. So I said, his kid has a phone. Now we can only capture him at home. Because, you know, you don't want to pick some kid up at like a restaurant or something. So we waited till the phone went back, and then it went back to the exact neighborhood we thought he lived in. And then we did the capture operation. So we just got really lucky. His kid stole an old phone out of the closet and brought on a trip with his dad.
And this is the co-founder of the Taliban.
Yeah, he was number 2 at the time of the Taliban. Yeah, but he is one of the founders. Yeah.
How old was he?
Maybe 55. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
But he was probably about 55.
So how long? What is the process like when you want to do a strike or a capture?
Well, luckily, because he was number 2 of the Taliban, we had approvals to capture him. So we'd already gone to lawyers and got like the top 10 of the Taliban. So that's what we had at the time. We had a list of 10 Taliban people we were allowed to capture. So I didn't have to go ask any permissions to capture him. So then usually you go to your COS and get approval. Well, my COS was gone.
COS is Chief of Station. That will be the head agency officer in charge of the entire country.
Yeah. So I would go to him, especially at that high of a capture, and ask his permission, but he wasn't there. And the number 2 wasn't there, and number 3 wasn't there, and number 4 wasn't going to give me an answer. So then I just went straight to where Brader lived, and then that COB was gone, and she was replaced by like a friend of mine. And so he's like, let's do it. So we really got no approvals because nobody was in country. So yeah, that's how we got Brader.
How long does it normally take? Let's say they're not on the top 10 list.
Oh, if they're not on the top 10 list, you actually have to go to the CIA lawyers and get approvals, and that could take months.
Months.
If you've never got approval to go after a guy, yeah.
What are your strikes usually? Are they captures? Are they drone strikes? Are they send it in teams?
Depends on what you're working. So I was working Taliban, so we didn't really have lethal approvals on Taliban. Maybe we had a Mullah Omar. So we had to capture Taliban. Because remember, the government still called them a political group. They weren't a terrorist organization. Mm-hmm. So we weren't really allowed to put Taliban, like, under a drone strike, but we really couldn't anyway. They were in Quetta, Karachi, Peshawar. It wasn't like they were in Waziristan.
Yeah.
Al-Qaeda, most of those targets, obviously, the attempt was drone strikes because of the locations of the country they were in. But if they're in the settled areas, obviously like Lahore or something, you'd have to capture them.
Okay. So as a targeter, you're attached to a certain group.
Correct.
Okay.
Or it can depend. So you can be attached to a group, you can be attached to a region, you can be attached to a city. So at that time, my job was the top 3 of the Taliban, and then anything in Karachi. So it could be Al-Qaeda, it could be Shia groups. It didn't matter. It could be organized crime. So I did any targeting in Karachi.
Okay. What's it feel like when you get these guys?
It was pretty exciting. The interesting part was, though, no one believed I really got him. So we got his photo, and of course they sent it first to a CIA asset that I always said was crap over in Afghanistan. He didn't ID the photo. So everyone's like, it's not him. I said, no, it's him. That source is crap, and you need to finally fire him. And then we finally got it into sources that did actually know him and weren't feeding us garbage. Because as you know, a lot of sources in Afghanistan fed us a bunch of garbage, got paid for it, and then they worked for 3 other intelligence agencies. So yeah, I mean, it was good to get him. In retrospect, though, I realized right away that I wanted to get him because he was number 2 of the Taliban, and he was the lead operational commander of the Taliban. So in my head, he's the lead ops guy. So every U.S. soldier dying in Afghanistan, it's on his shoulders, right? That's the way I viewed him as a target. Mm-hmm. When we got him in a room and we started getting questions from what the CIA wanted from him, that's when I actually learned that the president at the time, President Obama, had appointed like the special envoy, and his name was Richard Holbrooke, and his goal was to do Taliban reconciliation. And their main focus, and they had made some assessment, and the only way they could reconcile with the Taliban was to use Mullah Brader. So we sit down with him and want to collect info to go target other Taliban members, right? Because that's what I do. I go after the bad guys, and I find out all my questions are, who would you be okay with coming to meet with you about peace? Like, I mean, we would list off names of countries. Would you be okay if Japan came, the Brits came, all this strange stuff? And I was like, oh my gosh, they only want this guy for reconciliation. And that kind of became... That's when I saw, we're going to make a deal with the Taliban and we're going to give part of the government back to the Taliban. I didn't think it was going to be what today was. So if I went back in time, I never would have captured him, because he is the reason the whole country fell.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes, so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.